Hi, everyone. I'm Cécile. I'm in charge of international affairs at Mercator Ocean International. And I will be chairing this session dedicated to ocean literacy on behalf of Pierre Bayurel and Enrique Alvarez. It's a great pleasure of mine to welcome you all to this session that I have prepared with my colleague Roman Zupik. There are many definitions for ocean literacy, actually, and I particularly like the IOC UNESCO's being an understanding of the ocean's influence on us and our influence on the ocean. Ultimately, we should all become ocean-literated people on planet Earth, and it's a matter of knowledge. Today, the Decade Collaborative Center for Ocean Prediction that Mercator Ocean International will host, pilot, and facilitate is kicked off on behalf of IOC UNESCO, and it's a unique opportunity to increase the connections between the decade and society at large. Ocean prediction is not meant to be a matter of ocean science only. It is also meant to bring knowledge, to bring value to citizens, to let them aware of challenges that are threatening the ocean and of opportunities it is offering. Through ocean prediction, an efficient link and lasting link with society at large can be set up with professionals of ocean literacy worldwide that we did invite today, and that is what the session intends to demonstrate. You will now listen to these experts from around the world, and they will first explain how they work and how they share their work, how they share their knowledge, their projects with society and their communities, and what are their practice. They will also then tell during a round table how Ocean Prediction DCC might help them, might improve their missions towards an ocean literate society. The session will then be ended by a Q&A session, and I invite you to write your questions on the dedicated question box on the platform. See the question mark in the orange box on your right side. Please add to whom your question is asked. We might not have time to answer to all questions today, but we commit to answer by writing the answers on the platform. So let's start the first part of this session by listening our guest speakers. And the first expert is Francesca Santoro. She could not join our meeting today, so she self-recorded a video for us. Francesca is a Senior Program Officer for Ocean Literacy at the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, IOC of UNESCO, and she is coordinating the Ocean Literacy with All, OLWA, that is an Ocean Decade program. Francesca holds a PhD in analysis and governance for sustainable development from the School of Advanced Studies in Venice.
Hello, everyone. I'm really sorry I cannot be with you today, but I really would like to thank the organizer for inviting me. It's really an important initiative to try to link different communities across programs, projects, initiatives contributing to the Ocean Decade. And today I would like to talk to you in particular about the Ocean Literacy with All program, which is the endorsed ocean literacy program of the Ocean Decade that the IOC of UNESCO coordinates. So I don't have to spend too many words about what ocean literacy is, but let me just remind you and recall what is the internationally acknowledged definition of ocean literacy, which is an understanding of the ocean influence on you and your influence on the ocean. And an ocean literate person is a person that is able to communicate about the ocean in a meaningful way, but more importantly, is able to make informed and responsible decisions about the ocean and its resources. So why to create an ocean literacy global program? Because as you know, the Ocean Decade has identified a set of challenges and a set of outcomes that are supporting us in the definition of the ocean we want. And in particular, our program wants to contribute to outcome 7, which is an inspiring and engaging ocean, where society understands and values the ocean in relation to human well-being and sustainable development, but also to tackle challenge 10, which is to ensure that the multiple values and services of the ocean for human well-being, culture, and sustainable development are widely understood, and to identify and overcome barriers to behavior change required for a step change in humanity's relationship with the ocean. So in particular, in Ocean Literacy with All, we want to work on this idea of promoting and build capacity to create this behavior change, because ocean literacy is much more than just educating or informing the public about marine resources and the ocean, but it's really about connecting people with proper learning tool and scientific information about the ocean, but also very importantly, considering and adapting our knowledge to local contexts and cultures. What is the ambition of the Ocean Literacy with All? Well, we had quite an important visibility during the last UN Ocean Conference, where we started to organize the first edition of the Ocean Literacy Dialogues, which were conceived together with a lot of partners, and some of them are participating in this event today, in particular the European Commission, in the context of the EU for Ocean Coalition, where we are partner of. So the idea is to create a series of open and participatory events, part of the Ocean Literacy with All program, to increase the profile of ocean literacy in high-level discussions. So we were, lucky enough to get a big advocate with us, who is Peter Thompson, the UN Secretary General Special Envoy for the Ocean, who is a great supporter of ocean literacy. And when he said we need to put more resources in implementing ocean literacy as a society goal. Understanding the ocean is essential to comprehending and protecting the planet we live. We had a second edition of the Ocean Literacy Dialogues in Brazil, in Santos. You might know that Brazil and Santos is the only city in the world that has promulgated an ocean literacy law. So now ocean literacy is compulsory in city curriculum in Brazil, and some other countries and cities are deciding to follow that great example. So going back to Ocean Literacy with All, what we are trying to achieve there is organized around 6 components. So we want to, in component 1, monitor the impact of ocean literacy throughout the ocean decade through identifying a series of indicators. We want to support ocean literacy research, because ocean literacy is increasingly becoming a research discipline and a research topic. We want to increase capacity building, as I was saying before, by developing a series of ocean literacy trainings for different stakeholders. We want also to increase the accessibility of ocean literacy resources by using different tools like virtual reality, augmented reality, but also simply producing more ocean literacy resources in different languages, as there are a lot of ocean literacy resources in English, but very little in other languages. We want also to increase and strengthen the ocean literacy network existing around the world. And then, of course, the component 6 is related to coordination, which is led by the IOC. These are the component leads, as you can see. We have different organization types: universities, NGOs, networks, social literacy networks, scientific institutions, small enterprises, early career ocean professionals. As you might see, some spaces of the world are not covered yet, in particular Africa. So our intention is really to try to engage more and more partners from Africa and from other regions of the world. Lastly, let me quote the Director General of UNESCO, Madame Audrey Azoulay, who, at the occasion of the One Ocean Summit last February in Brest, really called upon all our member states to include ocean literacy in curriculum frameworks, because she said, if we want to protect the ocean better, we need to teach it better. So she called all our 193 member states to include ocean literacy in curriculum frameworks by 2025. So that is one big ambition for us, to really work with our member states to help them, support them, to really make ocean literacy more structured in curriculum frameworks, because that's really where we have to start from. But we will continue working with all stakeholders, with different partners, and to really continue promoting our idea of ocean literacy as a tool for the society as a whole. And again, I really would like to thank what you're doing today, because I think what is been done in the context of ocean prediction, ocean services, is really key to help us making this step change that I was mentioning before in the relationship of humankind with the ocean. And I thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to continue working with you for the next steps ahead of us in the context of the ocean decade. Thank you very much again, and I wish you a fruitful discussion.
Oh, fine. It was a nice start, Francesca. So let me now introduce Anna Sophie Skervedal. Anna Sophia is the head of secretariat at the newly created Arctic Hub. She holds a PhD on public participation from the University of Greenland and Aalborg in Denmark. Arctic Hub has an office in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, and Anna Sophia will explain the connection that the Arctic Hub is setting up. The floor is yours.
Thank you for this nice introduction, Cecile, and for the opportunity to present our work at Arctic Hub today at your kickoff meeting. I'd just like to say that I really like your approach to the establishment and purposes of the ocean literacy community, and you're focusing on strengthening the ties between research and society. First, as Cecile said, Arctic Hub is a new entity. It's 2 years old only, and it's a gathering entity, a one-point entry, if you will, for Arctic research stakeholders based in Greenland. Like you, we share some of the common goals of building bridges between research and society, and our core task is to make knowledge from research better accessible to stakeholders outside the research environments. So research in and around Greenland is the heart of everything that we do, and overall we work to strengthen international research cooperation, contribute to a better overview of research projects and activities in Greenland, and not least to support local anchorage of knowledge from research here in Greenland. The research conducted here in Greenland holds pieces of knowledge that can feed into solutions called for both locally, nationally, and worldwide, also in terms of the UN Ocean Decade, of course. But as we try to illustrate with this graphical image of the iceberg in the background, there's a lot of knowledge beneath the surface that we are not aware of or have not easy access to yet. There are so many research activities taking place here in Greenland, for example, that we don't have knowledge of at this current stage. So we're trying to establish an overview of the research activities and projects to bring this knowledge to the surface so that people are able to use it in society. So therefore, one of our greatest tasks is to make knowledge from research more accessible. Also, to promote greater visibility and accessibility of knowledge, we need to strengthen collaboration both within research and beyond research. So we build bridges by bringing people together across sectors, across expertise and national borders, and facilitate dialogue and knowledge sharing to strengthen partnerships and collaborations. We really want to help knowledge flow from researchers' desks or publications into the minds of people in the local communities, and ensure that knowledge and needs from example, municipality offices or the fishing industry flow more effortlessly into the research institutions as well. So in that sense, you can say that we're trying to establish this two-way traffic bridge between research and society. Lastly, I want to showcase some concrete examples of bridge building between research and society from Arctic Hub's portfolio, how we do our work in practice. For instance, we are hosting a research outreach competitions in 2 months' time, the first of its kinds, and it's a kind of science version of the X Factor, if you will. What we want with this initiative is really to bring science into people's living rooms and awaken the curiosity for science and acquire new knowledge. Also, once a year, we facilitate virtual field campaign coordination workshops where researchers can gain the opportunity to get a bit of overview of who's doing what kind of research where are people coming from, where are they going, what kind of communities are they visiting, what kind of research are they doing, and are they doing interviews with the local communities and so forth. There are so many researchers coming here to Greenland, so we really want to help lessen research fatigue, and that the fairly small communities that we have around Greenland is not overwhelmed by being asked many of the same questions, for instance. So this overview that we're trying to create is also communicated to the local research or the local communities as well, so they get knowledge of who's coming to visit them in their town settlements. Finally, we're also preparing an annual report. What we want to do is also, again, establish this overview of research in and around Greenland and identify barriers and potential to smoothen research processes, so it becomes easier to do research in Greenland and also know how to disseminate knowledge properly and build this bridge between research and society. Also, this is a tool specifically developed for decision makers, government authorities, and politicians to be used as a tool for informed decision making. Finally, to round off, we do a great effort in communication and outreach. This is really essential to bring knowledge from research closer to society, and we do this by making video productions, showcasing cases from research, current research projects, and also make easily read articles providing a glimpse into the research taking place in Greenland. And if you want to learn more of our work, you're more than welcome to follow our initiatives on our social media and our website. And I wish you a great kickoff meeting further. Thank you.
I do really thank you, Anna-Sophia, for your presentation and very concrete examples and this outstanding initiative in the Arctic. I will probably have questions about it later. So now I welcome Molly Powers. Thank you for being with us, Molly. What time is it in Fiji? Can you hear me? Okay. In the meantime,
yes, I can hear you loud and clear. It's about 1:20 in the morning.
Oh,
my children are fast asleep.
Thank you so much for being there, Molly. Molly, you are working at SPC, the Pacific Community. You are team leader for ocean literacy and maritime capacity in the oceans and maritime program. You are highly committed to facilitating ocean literacy and capacity development in small island developing states, seeds, what we say, and other regions that are vulnerable to climate variability and change. So the floor is yours, Molly.
Thank you so much, Mbulavanaka, everyone from Fiji. I'll just share my slides with you here, and hopefully everyone can see that. It's great to join you all from this side of the planet tonight. And like Anna-Sophia, I'll echo her sentiments. We welcome the inclusion of ocean literacy in this session and recognizing the role of ocean literacy in strengthening the links of science to society. This has been a long-term effort on our side in the Pacific as well. And just to orient, sorry for that, just to orient everybody to the Pacific, this is what we call the Blue Pacific continent. It's larger in size than the land territories of the United States, China, India, and Europe combined. And settled thousands of years ago by diverse ocean-going peoples, the Pacific Islands recognize that their strength rests in being connected and not separated by the ocean. At its core, the identity that we've created, this Blue Pacific continent, is about the empowerment of Pacific people to determine their own development agenda. And the most urgent existential threat to our region's development is climate change. So our geographic isolation, our small populations, the thin economies, they mean that we're much more vulnerable to sea level rise, ocean acidification, marine heat waves, and stronger ENSO events than countries with greater resources and coping capacity. But perhaps even more troubling, we also have limited early warning systems in place to alert us of these hazards. And this is where I think the ocean prediction community can really come into play. Now, why would this be so when early warning is of such critical importance in our region? One key issue has been the lack of near real-time in situ coastal data across the region. And at present, many of our countries have at least one tide gauge, thanks to a network supported by Australia, but many minor islands lack tide predictions that are ground truth by local observations. And more recently, Pacific Islands have recognized the value in monitoring waves in real time. But even with new wave buoy deployments for the last 5 years, there are more wave buoys currently operating in Lake Michigan than across the 22 Pacific Islands. While global information gathered from the growing network of satellites and drifting sensors is hugely valuable, without in situ coastal data for validation, without the local bathymetry and downscaled models, this global information does not translate to actionable impact-based forecasts along the coast. And that's what's really critical for our communities. 90% Pacific Islanders live within coastal zone, and traditional 3 meters offshore swell notice does not tell a coastal community what action to take. What does that mean to them? This is where ocean literacy really can come in. I mentioned a few of the challenges we're facing, but this slide further drives the point home. Despite being a region that's 98% ocean, there's very limited oceanographic capacity in the Pacific Islands. At present, only one Pacific Island country has a position for an oceanographer in their National Met Service, and that's Danny Shadrich, pictured here from the Solomon Islands. To pursue a degree in oceanography requires an islander to leave the region and study abroad, and if they return home, there are few job opportunities for them. Although there are many potential users of ocean information, from fishing groups, maritime and port authorities, etc., these user groups are rarely consulted on initiatives, and they often don't have the chance to collaborate or identify their common needs for ocean information. And add to this, there's a lot of academic interest in the Pacific, perhaps similar to Greenland and the Arctic. And while global support for development initiatives is great, the proliferation of parachute science and short-term projects, sort of the airdropping of specialized technology and proprietary software, these have had really limited benefits in our region. So in the absence of appropriate context or accompanying training, and certainly without ongoing support to maintain and upgrade these systems and to integrate them into annual government budget cycles, these short-lived initiatives are classic examples of boomerang aid, unfortunately. So if people don't understand marine warnings, how can we improve communications? If we don't have oceanographers at the national level, how can we build those key competencies? And if governments or donors are hesitant to invest in ocean observing and prediction, how do we demonstrate the value? Many of these issues mentioned can be addressed by improved ocean literacy. And strengthening ocean literacy, building capacity and engaging communities is what the Pacific Community, SPC, my organization, and many of the regional organizations across the Pacific have been working on for the last few years, and continue to work on under the banner of the decade. It's not easy. It can be time consuming. It requires additional resources, but the payoff is not just the improved lifespan of your instruments or better predictions. It's also the increased usefulness and the application of the data that it comes out of these predictions and this information. We found that when user groups and local communities are consulted on sensor deployments and on development of ocean products, when they understand what ocean obs do for them, they're more likely to heed warnings, they're more likely to invest in observation and prediction, they're more likely to participate in observing initiatives, and more likely to respect the sensors as well. So this summarizes sort of the multi-pronged approach to strengthening ocean observing that the Met services have taken with support from my organization, SPC, and a number of existing and we hope new partners, from building capacity and deploying more sensors to engaging stakeholders, building those local partnerships and demonstrating value by developing tailored tools and ocean information products that meet local needs. Increasingly, we're seeing countries are not just accepting handouts, but they're actually coordinating and using these opportunities presented by development aid to support their own plans. So Fiji Met, for example, has prioritized communication. They've hired a communications officer, Anna, to improve outreach to communities and to stakeholder groups. And their climate officer, Arietta, who's pictured here, she's helped develop formal MOUs with different user groups to strengthen interagency relationships and improve the ocean services from the Met. There have been lots of tremendous efforts, great progress across the region over the decade, and there's lots of improved ocean literacy at all levels, from community to cabinet. There's still more that we need, and hopefully some of this can be delivered through this Decade Coordination Center. We need more homegrown oceanographers like Moleni, who's pictured from Tonga here. He's just completed his PhD and published several papers on tropical cyclone storm surge and coastal inundation in Tonga. These individuals contribute their understanding of local contexts and traditional knowledge and understanding ocean drivers and dynamics. We also need better informed public and decision makers who can understand the importance of ocean monitoring and prediction for our island region. We need to ensure traditional knowledge is not lost in the effort to strengthen scientific understanding, as many Pacific Islanders have a wealth of understanding about the ocean. And we need to support to strengthen our national and regional programs from within. And I'll just take the moment here to flag the upcoming Pacific Islands Conference on Ocean Science and Management coming up in May of this year in Fiji, where we hope to bring together the region scientists and those who can make use of this science for development. I can share those links with anyone who's interested. And that's all that I have for you today. In conclusion, we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go to improve this picture and to improve our understanding of coastal dynamics across the 22 Pacific Island countries and territories, to improve early warning systems and build resilience of communities in the region. We can't do this without the expertise of top scientists and technicians, of innovative technology, dedicated investors in ocean prediction. We can't do it without improved ocean literacy. And we also can't and should not do it without community consultation, co-design, and engagement with users who need this information to secure their lives and their livelihoods. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Molly, and don't hesitate to promote your event on the booth, the virtual booth that will be on for 6 months, over 6 months on this platform. It's important that all of you can promote your events and activities on our virtual booth. Okay, so now we shall listen to Anthony Inda. Anthony, you are a researcher with a master's degree in marine affairs and a PhD in environmental science. You are active in the Early Careers Ocean Professional, the ECOP network, as a regional ECOP node coordinator in Africa. Your personal commitment is to bring early career professionals from all ocean-related activities across Africa to take an active role in marine stewardship in line with the UN Ocean Decade. Anthony, the floor is yours, and thank you for limiting your participation to your contribution to 5 minutes, please, as far as possible. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much, and thank you to you all for being here. And we in ECOP Africa, we really appreciate you inviting us to take part in this great event. And like you already mentioned, I am Anthony, and an early career ocean professional and the regional coordinator for Africa. And so my discussion today will be on the topic of ocean literacy and to create an operational ocean literacy program for Africa through the ECOP program and for the Ocean Decade and even beyond the Ocean Decade. So I'll dive directly into my presentation. So the first thing I would like to discuss is who an ECOP is. So according to the ECOP program, an ECOP is someone who self-identifies as being in a marine-related profession within a 10-year period or less. And in that regards, the ECOP program was endorsed in January 2020. And the vision of the ECOP program was to give a collective voice to early career ocean professionals, because for quite a long time, ECOPs have been kind of left back because they are in the early stages of their career, always considered to probably not have the right experience or the right amount of experience. So, but that is changing gradually, and we are very happy about that. And right now, we are beginning to feel more and more included in global events and also global decision making regarding the ocean. So the ECOP program now is geared towards building that platform for young early career researchers and professionals to work together, network, and build their capacity and have a meaningful and impactful participation in the ocean decade to achieve and deal with the challenges that have been identified. So I identified 7 ocean decade challenges, which I would like to talk about and to show you how in Africa, our ECOP Africa tries to address these challenges in the context of capacity development, which is top on our priority. So I didn't go directly into looking at them from the first one as presented by the Ocean Decade. So I started with the 7th one and the 6th one. So in this case, I would like to look at first, how do we get access to the ocean, and what is actually our perception of the ocean in terms of whether we are the owners of our ocean resources or not. And also to have that engaging relationship with the ocean. And so I believe that only through ocean literacy that we can actually achieve this, to bring the communities and also every person who has access to the ocean to feel like the ocean belongs to them. And in that case, they would be more willing to want to protect it. They'll be more willing to want to interact with the ocean in a more sustainable manner. So in that case, once this happens, then we can now start moving towards having a cleaner ocean, a healthier ocean, a productive ocean. So that's the idea. And so how do we engage now? In our ECOP program, we strongly believe that capacity development is the way to go, and ocean literacy. And so we have the ECOP literacy program and ECOP capacity. And through this, we try to, but first I would like to mention the fact that these are programs that are still in the process of being developed, since the ECOP Africa program has been ongoing for just a few months. And so we are currently building on this program. So nothing has actually been implemented yet. We are still building. So we'll be doing this through schools, engaging schools and universities in our ECOP activities, having ECOP school clubs, and even within communities, having community ECOP activities. So engaging directly with the communities and bringing the message of ECOP across these communities. And another way we'll be engaging is to carry out specific activities like ocean cleanups, ocean sports, storytelling and games, and blue artisanal projects within communities, so that to make communities more engaged and feel more close to the ocean and have that sense of belonging. And then another thing is to carry out sensitization awareness campaigns, and also through media and communication. So get into local communities through their local media houses, and also through newspapers and social media, to expose the challenges which we are facing in the oceans in specific areas based on local realities, and also to carry out specific blue projects such as eco-restorations, plastic pollution reduction, ocean observations, and other projects which we are currently developing. And to do that, to achieve all of this, we need a number of steps. We need a comprehensive organizational framework. So we've developed this comprehensive organizational framework in a way that we have sub-regional nodes and national ECOP Africa nodes. So each of these projects will be implemented at the level of the national ECOP nodes so as to be much more focused on the local realities. And in our organizational framework as well, we have a strong emphasis on literacy and capacity development so as to develop technical training workshops and also develop a blue curriculum and also manuals for schools. And also we try to be more inclusive, not only focusing on researchers and scientific professionals, but also to go very to the level of individual different socio-professional groups that are related to the ocean, fishermen, and the others. And so we try to, through this inclusive approach, we try to kind of build the capacity of the communities towards a sustainable blue economy across Africa, and also try to cover all the entire 30,500 kilometer coastline of Africa. And so another way is to network with potential partners through joint projects, internships, specialized training courses, funding, so as to provide the necessary capacity we need in order to carry out some of the projects which I mentioned earlier, such as ocean conservation and ocean prediction, as a way forward towards sustainable ocean stewardship in Africa. So in conclusion, I'll say that our ECOP program in Africa aspires to connect and offer ECOPs a platform to express themselves and grow and make a visible contribution in the ocean decade, and to serve as a link between marine science policy makers and communities, and instill in our ECOPs and local communities a sense of ownership of the ocean space, and highlight the people's dependence on the ocean, and make available technical skills required to effectively observe, monitor, research, predict, and sustainably exploit the ocean. And also to foster a meaningful and pragmatic engagement with the ocean, and foster a common vision and strengthen relationships among ocean stakeholders. So the new ways of thinking that will develop out of this will help to induce a new desire to improve ocean stewardship and accelerate the process of achieving the ocean we want, which is a clean, healthy, resilient, and productive and safe ocean. So to conclude, I'll say that to succeed, we need partnerships, we need collaborators and funds, and a vast network of like-minded organizations. And so that's why our eyes are on the Ocean Prediction Decade Centers. And so we are very grateful for this opportunity. They have invited us to present our ECOP Africa aspirations here, and we look forward to more connections and networking, and to move the Ocean Decade program forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Anthony. You are on board, it's for sure. Thank you so much. Now we welcome Olga Mashkina. Hi, Olga. It's good to have you with us today. Olga, you've got a master and PhD in environmental economics. You have been working in many research institutions in the US and in Europe, and you are today senior consultant for the research and environment agency Acteon. You are coordinating the very active EU for Ocean Coalition on Ocean Literacy that has been launched in June 2020 by the European Commissioner for Environment, Oceans and Fishery, Virginijus Sinkevicius. And the coalition is meant to support collective ocean literacy in Europe. Olga, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cecilia, and thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure and honor to be today with you on this panel. And I'm joining now you from Strasbourg, so we jumped already from many continents. So thank you very much. You already introduced me, so I will jump straight in. We talked about ocean literacy already by many speakers, and today I am here to tell you more about what happens in Europe with initiatives on ocean literacy. And as you already mentioned, this EU for Ocean Coalition was initiated by European Commission. And instead of talking myself about what is the coalition about, who stands behind it, why was it done, what were the communities, I thought that I would show you a small video that we prepared. Because in fact, many of you are members of the
Throughout the
coalition.
ages, the people of Europe have always had a special relationship with the sea. Our economies, our societies, our cultures have largely been shaped by our maritime history, by our influence on the ocean, and by the ocean's influence on us.
But we are facing a tipping point. Climate change, pollution, overfishing, habitat destruction, and the collapse of biodiversity are threatening the health of the ocean, and therefore our own.
Across the world, many people, projects and initiatives are already doing great things to raise awareness about these issues. It's a critical time for our ocean and planetary system. We need to do more. And this is why, in Europe, the European Commission has launched a new ocean literacy initiative that builds, connects and mobilises the community into action.
In 2020, the EU for Ocean Coalition was born, with 3 communities on board: the platform, the EU for Ocean Forum, and the network of the European Blue Schools.
The platform is the hub for professional marine and maritime organizations, projects and people to connect, share knowledge, and drive joint ocean literacy activities for more impact.
The Youth for Ocean Forum connects young people from 16 to 30 years old, coming from all over Europe, to create a new movement for the ocean.
And in the network of European Blue Schools, we mobilize schools into action for the ocean. In the network, we support schools that bring the ocean into the classrooms and into the students' everyday lives.
From infancy to maturity, the EU for Ocean Coalition will continue to grow, and it will continue to promote ocean literacy across Europe.
We are the ocean, and the ocean is us.
I hope that that video, some of you recognize yourselves, some of you have been part of this coalition, your members, some of us. Yes, okay, I'm back. So this small map shows you how we are spread in these 3 communities across different countries in Europe. There are 3 communities, and we are growing. And just to say that in this 2.5 years, it's been a difficult time with COVID and everything, but these communities came together and created amazing things already. I will not be able to speak about all of different initiatives that came together by our members, but there are quite amazing things that maybe some of you know. Here are some just examples. That there was a coastal code for the Bay of Santander, which was developed for one of the members. There was a podcast series, If Oceans Could Speak, about Arctic and Mediterranean scientists, and not only. The coalition, actually, the platform and itself, it has not only the scientists on board, but all kind of different spectrum of organizations, including also the artists, the museums, the aquariums. There's another example that we tried to build together with the members of coalition to bring the touch of blue to the European Researchers' Night. And now we've run just last September the Blue Nights in 7 European countries. For the Youth for Ocean community, it's also super exciting that so many young people are becoming young ocean advocates in Europe, and they're bringing amazing projects, activities, and with the help of platform members, the experts, the scientists, and not only, we're setting up the mentoring program, different events. They are very active. Some of you have met them in EMD in Ravenna or in UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon. as I say, there's difficult to go on in such short time about all the different things, but you can discover it all on our website, and I'm sure that some of them are in the audience listening to us right now. The third community on the Blue Schools is also growing quite significantly. And already we are having 155 schools that are following and becoming Blue Schools in Europe. And this is continuing. We have a handbook, so each school that can join and join a network. We also going a bit beyond that and trying to bring we developed a charter for Blue education where several networks and partners have signed it at the Ocean Conference in Lisbon. There are a few also spin-off projects where members of the communities came together and created projects where we can share knowledge, we can exchange between schools and learn from each other. For example, there is a Mediterranean project, Blue Schools Med, for the Med, but we're just starting, so we hope that continues. And you probably have seen us in a few events we organized. We organized a big Ocean Literacy Summit in Ravenna last year, and as Francesca already mentioned in her intervention, that we organized the Ocean Literacy Dialogue in Lisbon. And we've also set up the sea basin events in all major sea basins in Europe, where we had not only bringing the three communities together with discussing specific of how we can foster ocean literacy in each of them, but also celebrating ocean literacy in festivals where all of different communities again come together and show what they do, different activities of members. It's been very exciting, very amazing, like really to feel this. Even sometimes we had to do it virtually. What was also, I guess, to bring it back a bit closer to the ocean prediction is with the saying here that the more we know about the ocean, the better we can act to ensure its well-being. And we set up a campaign, which is called Make Europe Blue, which actually we try to set it up first by giving a scientific fact about the ocean, and then inspiring people to say, well, what can you do in your everyday life? What can you do? And no matter what you do, your contribution will help us to act together to a healthy ocean in Europe. And this will continue. I'm actually coming to the end here.
Yeah, Olga, we have to conclude now.
Yeah, exactly. So that the coalition is very young, but succeeded in making all these communities and keep on growing. We are launching the second phase of the coalition just next week. And we really hope that with the experts of the Ocean Prediction Center, we can work together and build these collective actions together with youth and schools, with all our three communities, to create a better link between science and society. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Olga, for your presentation. So we are now 20 minutes late, but before introducing our last contributor, I would like to devote a few seconds to invite our audience to send their question on the specific question box you've got on the platform. Okay, now let's welcome our last contributor, and not the least, Dr. Silvia Chacon Barrantes, coming from Costa Rica. Hi, Silvia. Thank you for being with us. You are a tenured professor at the Physics Department of the National University of Costa Rica, and you are coordinating and you are funding the CINAMOT program, which is acting as the National Tsunami Warning Center for Costa Rica. You are a member of the Decade Advisory Board to UNESCO IOC, and I let you the floor, Silvia.
Thank you, Cecile. Good morning from Costa Rica. Let me share my screen. So today I'm gonna talk to you about our project on tsunami preparedness at coastal wildlife protected areas. Costa Rica has about 25% of its territory as protected areas, and is a major touristic attraction for the country. So in the project, we perform a tsunami hazard assessment and build tsunami inundation and evacuation maps for the selected protected areas, and we perform a climatic vulnerability assessment. We do capacity building for the staff of the protected areas, and support them in developing the preparedness and response plan for tsunamis and climatic vulnerability. And we perform recommendations once the hazard assessment is done. We give recommendations on how to improve tsunami preparedness, and these might include mitigation measures. So this project, we are 3 entities from the university. One is the CINAMOD project from the physics department. Another one is the psychology department and the environmental sciences department. So we are working on 9 wildlife protected areas chosen based on a tsunami risk index that we developed at the beginning of the project. So this is the selected areas. You can see we have both in the Pacific and Caribbean areas, and including the 2 most visited, or the 3 most visited protected areas in the country, that are Manuel Antonio in the Pacific and Cahuita in the Caribbean, together with Tortuguero. And also Cocos Island, that is located about 500 kilometers offshore, so southwest from mainland, and which has much lower visitation, but it still is an important national park for the country. So far we have worked on 2 national parks. One is Manuel Antonio in the Pacific, and here we perform a joint work with a pilot project from UNESCO on coastal hazards at MENA biosphere sites. So these include 2 programs of UNESCO. One is the tsunami program and the MAP, or MENA biosphere program in UNESCO. So the project included 3 coastal hazards: tsunamis, storm surges, and flooding by heavy rain on the lower part of the river. I forgot the word in English. So we participated on the tsunami part, of course, and also a little bit on the heavy rain related to vulnerability, climatic vulnerability. This project finished last year, and this led to the Quepos municipality to be recognized as tsunami ready. That includes the Manuel Antonio National Park. We had 2 evacuation drills, one in May and one in November, and many more activities in this park. The second national park we have worked is Cahuita. This is located in the Caribbean. It is a kind of a peninsula, as you can see, completely flat, covered with vegetation, estuaries, rivers. So there is no highland inside the peninsula, and also no high trees. The trees are close to the beach. There is only one pathway that goes all around by the beach, and a local tsunami might arrive in less than 5 minutes, and a regional tsunami in about 60 minutes. So you can see the results here of the inundation caused by regional and local tsunamis, with maximum values, of course, along the pathway that goes around. So here we recommended the deployment of vertical evacuation structures at 7 points along the main pathway. You can see here the pathway. This is the entrance, as this is the exit there, or you can, of course, enter the other side, but there are 8 kilometers between these 2 points, and no way to go inside the peninsula. So we recommended the building of these of 7 structures here along the path. And we contacted the University of Costa Rica civil engineering department, and they, as a project for a course, they developed the design of this structure. This is particularly designed for the flow characteristics that we obtain in our numerical modeling, and the type of soil and many other research parameters they did. So each of these structures has a cost of about $29,000, but no funding has been identified yet. So if you have about $30,000 to spare, please let us know. We are hoping that this design was concluded November, December last year. So we are now have to recommend the park authorities how to search funding and where to search funding and assist them on that to be able to build at least, I mean, as much as possible, but at least the first two or the ones that are closer to the entrances that are where more people usually visits the park. So that's me. I don't know, I think I was too fast, but I hope I was able to transmit the message of our project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Thank you for your presentation, which was very clear, of course. And also many thanks to all speakers for your utmost interesting presentation that concretely show the diversity of the audiences, the diversity of the methods, of the practices, and according to regional specificities, because what Anna Sofia told us as far as Arctic is concerned is not really the same as far as Pacific or Costa Rica is concerned. So many specificities according to region, and beyond this diversity, you have one thing in common actually, and it is the need to have a concrete description of the ocean, data that are explaining oceanic events. You need data to show the reality of currents, of melting sea ice, or tsunamis, or upwelling, or what. So in other words, you are needing ocean knowledge, and you need somehow to make reference to ocean indicators or ocean forecasts, and it is the core activity of ocean prediction. So it is a moment now to ask you to what extent ocean prediction may be helpful to you, and we will now enter the roundtable part of the session. Dear panelists, would you please turn on your cameras and microphones so that you can be all visible on the platform for the roundtable. So before opening this second part, I will first introduce two new panelists, Chris and Esteban, who are joining us. Chris Nwachukwu, is an international environmental educator. He's part of ECOP Africa.
Chris Nwachukwu.
Excuse me, Nwachukwu. You are part of the ECOP network in Africa, in charge of ocean literacy, and you are the founder of the Green Promise Initiative organization, which is an environmental NGO in Nigeria. And I also welcome Esteban Gottfried Berget. You are working with Francesca Santoro. We did listen to a few minutes ago. You are Assistant Project Officer for Ocean Literacy at the IOC UNESCO, and you've got a master's degree in marine science. You have been a biologist in a shark aquarium in Mexico during 4 years. So I would like to ask to all panelists a few questions. So I had many questions, but maybe due to our delay, I will maybe be restricted to 2 questions. Let's start with the first question, and please take the floor when you wish. There is no specific order for your intervention. So the first question I would like to ask you is, what value could concretely bring the Ocean Prediction DCC to your activities? Could you illustrate with concrete ideas? This can be, I don't know, data visualization tools, or scientific contribution to expedition, support to hackathon, to exhibition, to media. Please tell us exactly what would be your requirements, because these requirements will be duly noted for our collaboration during the 10 years to come. Who is taking the floor first?
Cecile, can I add to your question? Thank you. I just want to add that, you know, as also been mentioned before during the session, that the local context is very important. And as you said as well in the summary, that it can be very different from country to country or entity to entity. So I think stressing the local context or taking that into consideration, as Francesco Santoro also said in her presentation, it's really important if you want to engage meaningfully with or collab meaningfully with different actors across national borders. So adapting approaches and methods to create these problem knowledge flows is very important. For instance, considering language issues, the capacity and resources of the countries or the institutions that you're collaborating with, and local resource persons or local gatekeepers to disseminate valuable information, I think is also worth taking into consideration, just as a general remark.
If I can jump in, Cecile, I'd like to echo again what Anna Sophia said. Yeah, strongly agree with those sentiments. And recognizing that there can be some really wonderful advances that science and technology can bring our way, but if we don't have if it's not contextualized properly, if we're not able to sort of bring it into the different channels and the different means of communicating that will be meaningful to local communities, it can fall flat. So that's really making use of those existing organizations or existing groups that are on the ground doing this work and working with them to strengthen what's already happening. And hopefully some of that's been seen today. One thing I can say on our side in the Pacific, certainly there are data gaps, and there is a lot of opportunity to strengthen the collection of data and in the coastal zones in particular, as I mentioned in the presentation. And one area that we think the Decade Coordination Center could help us with is a new initiative called Digital Earth Pacific. It's seeking to strengthen the use of remote sensing information and really to gather all kind of the satellite data that's available and to make products and tools that are available for the Pacific. That's underway already in our team, but we are seeking more partners for that. We're aware that right now a lot of satellites actually shut off and power up while they're going over the Pacific, so they're not taking advantage of those opportunities to collect really valuable data for our region, and we'd like to work with some of those agencies to improve how that data can reach our communities.
Molly, you mentioned during the presentation the traditional ocean knowledge. Could you also speak about that? What did you mean, and how could it fit with ocean prediction?
Sure. Well, we actually have a program under the Pacific, our own, and we aspire to create a Pacific Decadal Center as well. That's underway, but there's a program that's looking at 3 elements of the decade and integrated ocean management, and those 3 elements are science, policy, and traditional knowledge. And that came out of a big regional process where we brought in a lot of different groups and consulted with them and asked them what their priorities were. And traditional knowledge has come out really strongly across Pacific coordinators. And now I'm not personally an expert in this area, although I'm certainly getting to know more and more about it. But what I can say from those that I've learned from within my team, there's we're increasingly recognizing how traditional knowledge is used, particularly in management and in communicating ocean knowledge. There's vast untapped resources of traditional knowledge, and it's not to complement science or to fill gaps. It actually stands alongside science and is another way of knowing or another way of interpreting the world. And there's ways to use both science and traditional knowledge to reach, I think, mutual goals that we have around protecting our ocean and protecting communities. So broadly, that's a big goal in our region, and I think a way that ocean literacy can also interact with the ocean prediction community.
Other reaction, because it's so interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it would actually be of value to our work here in Africa because we have a vast number of ECOPs, even those we ourselves have identified. And more especially the data we need, some of these data are really high scientific data. And within our work, we want to find out ways that we can step down these data to information that will be processed by the citizens, because because that's the goal of the ocean literacy, to see that the citizens also are ocean literate enough to also know how to use the ocean sustainably and all that. So whenever scientific data like that comes in, we need to get our professionals to step it down. So people like us who are already in the capacity development field and the ocean literacy field could be able to communicate that effectively to those the man and the women on the street. And apart from that, Africa has also a vast number of indigenous knowledge, which I have been working with from the Niger Delta region. And although most of these data have helped us to even predict when local indigenous people should go to the seas to go fish. Yes, because while we're talking about unsustainable fishing, these knowledges are very, very much important for us. So we know when the fishes are abundant, so they can go and get them to enable them get their protein needs. So thank you so much.
Chris, could you illustrate concretely when you speak about data processed by citizens on the involvement of citizens in having this getting this ocean data? Could you illustrate with a few examples?
Of course. Okay, of course, the layman on the streets. Now, when Ms. Francisca was making her presentation, there was something, you find out that the map in Africa was virtually empty. And you find out that if you come to literacy, we have a very high literacy gap in Africa. And of course, educationally, now you're talking about ocean literacy. So most of the scientific data that scientists has made, and those already in the professional, in the professional field of ocean technology. Now, the layman of the street would not really understand what this thing means. So we ourselves as capacity development directors working with local indigenous communities and villagers and all that. So we want to see ways we can step down these data to information that can easily be understood by Africans and those in the street. Thank you.
Okay. So
Cecile,
yeah,
if I might,
of course.
I want to add to what Chris said, that indeed data is very important, at least for us on tsunami preparedness, because we, in order for a community to be, one of the lessons that the Palu tsunami of 2018 gave us was that we need to prepare communities on their specific threat. So local tsunamis don't have the same arrival time everywhere. They can go from a couple of minutes to 1 hour. They can go from minor to moderate to large flooding. So if we tell a community that they, if we give them like general numbers, they will probably won't be properly prepared. So, for example, in Costa Rica, the local tsunami threat is moderate. That means that we are not expecting large flooding from local tsunamis, but in some places the arrival time is as small as 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So if we tell people, okay, you need to go 20 meters high in 3 minutes, that's impossible in many places. But if we tell them you need to go 5 meters high in 3 meters, because that's the results of the modeling, then it is more achievable and people actually get interest on the subject. Because if you give impossible conditions, people won't even bother on consider tsunami as a threat. In the background, they think, I'm gonna die anyway, so why to worry about it? So I better live happy, and because when it happens, I'm gonna die anyway. So if we tell them there is an opportunity, a real opportunity for you to survive a tsunami, because even if it is fast, it is minor or moderate or manageable, then people get interested on what to do and they get prepared. So we have been performing this modeling at both coast of Costa Rica to get both the arrival times and the inundation extent, or an approximate, because of course to perform inundation modeling we need detail, or we need fine bathymetry, high resolution bathymetry, which is really hard to obtain and scarce everywhere in the world, but particularly in non-developed countries. So we have been doing approaches and modeling where we can to give the specific parameters. And we have built an interactive map, inundation map, where people can search, they can zoom in as much as they want and find if their house or workplace is inside the inundation area for tsunami, and they can build their own family, community, or institution, or enterprise, or hotel preparation plan for tsunamis based on that inundation area. So to summarize, we need base data like bathymetry to perform hazard assessments, to give specific characteristics of tsunamis for people to get prepared properly in advance. So this is a large chain, and of course in this large chain you need staff, and that is usually the largest challenge for us in Costa Rica. Not only having you said, I just forgot the word, like staff that is able to perform the tasks, like prepare staff, but also to have staff, because sometimes from international agencies, they focus on give trainings for non-developed countries, which is great. But if we don't have people to train, then, there is no point on making these trainings. So there are many aspects there to make us get to the point. So it's not only about building a map or having the tools. It's just all the work that you need behind and all the people that you need behind to get the information to build that map. And this is something we need to consider.
Yes, thank you for this input, actually, Sylvia, because you are here speaking about response plans and where lives are at stake, actually. So it's something else than a matter of knowledge. It's something more. I mean, the stake is much more important. So it's part of the diversity of our discussion this afternoon, because we absolutely need to develop knowledge in any countries and work toward the ocean literate society, okay. But here you are speaking about concrete needs for helping your country being and coastal people in Costa Rica being properly warned before any tsunami. So it's another concern, I understand.
Cecile, sorry, it is also, we have been working with communities when we develop tsunami evacuation maps in more than 50 communities by now in both coasts of Costa Rica. And we had the Tonga volcano tsunami in January last year. It's going to be almost a year in the next couple of days. And it was a very interesting effect. We found that most of the coastal towns, when we got reports of people seeing abnormal sea behavior with the tsunami, that was the tsunami. They say the tide raised and they went up and down in 5 minutes. So that was the tsunami, and that was the only effect we observed. And currents and some coastal erosion. But most of the communities reporting this were the communities we have been working with. So we created ocean literacy by preparing these people for a coastal threat. So they know now how the sea have, of course they know because they live at the sea, they know what is the normal behavior of the sea, but they know now that what means when the sea is not behaving in the way that it is supposed to. They know now that this is a tsunami, not only the giant waves they see on Hollywood movies, They see that these strong currents and these eddies they saw, now they know this is also a tsunami. So both things are strongly related.
So you certainly have got much more ocean-related people, literated people in North Costa Rica than in any other country because of the risks, actually. And I would like to end this discussion together by asking you about, so you said you need staff, but tools, what about tools? Because it seemed that you have got tools already. You spoke about map, you spoke about a website. Do you have specific applications, or I don't know, app warning application, or
Yeah,
you know, I don't know.
we have a mobile app that gives
Everybody is
warnings.
connected to.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can download it,
Mhm.
and they will get notification every time there is a warning. And this
Mhm.
app also has like navigation tool. So if you are in the by the coast and you said I want to start evacuating, then the app will guide you through the next assembly point, to the nearest assembly point.
Okay.
And of course, there is a lot of work behind the information that this app provides, right? And of course, there is also money needed to develop the app, to give
To maintain.
To give updates, to fix errors, etc.
Cecile, can I add something to?
Oh, of course, you're welcome.
All right, so I'd just like to thank you, Sylvia and Chris, for your contributions, and also mention the fact that as far as Africa is concerned, it's pretty much a clean slate. Almost nothing has been done in terms of prediction, in terms of just getting the abundant amount of data that exists out there and transforming it into meaningful action. And so we are still in the process of trying to develop those tools like Sylvia has described. And that's also what Chris was talking about, like using some information, for instance, using satellite direct chlorophyll A data and developing prediction tools for maybe eutrophication, maybe fish abundance. So that's to help fishermen know when to fish, avoid the periods when they shouldn't be fishing and stuff like that. So we need all of these things in Africa. And also that's how I find the link between these discussions with what Olga had mentioned earlier with regards to blue schools. So in this case, we need to be able to train people in the communities in order to be able to translate data into action. And then the communities will benefit. Now, I think Sylvia is already at that level, but most of us are not even there yet. So that's why I would really like for Sylvia, for instance, and for Olga, for instance, to maybe, if possible, to be able to provide some information on how some of us can get in contact and how we can start this kind of blue mentorship programs for, let's say, trainer programs and also blue schools in Africa. That's one of our objectives in ACOP Africa. I believe that's how we can now be able to link these various salient aspects, data, and then tools, and then predictions, and how it changes people's lives across the world. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anthony, for example, is very worrisome that not a single country in the west coast of Africa belongs to the tsunami warning system for the Atlantic. So that's one of the decisions made at the meeting of all the tsunami warning systems last year, was to invite states from or countries from the west coast of Africa to be part of a tsunami warning system, because they are not, they are completely unprotected. But that will be a start point, because that will make links with IOC structures, at least for the tsunami part. And that will start giving you access to training and capacity building efforts, at least for the tsunami part. Of course, this could be also done through IOC Africa. That is the subcommission for the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission for Africa. That will be also a starting point. And I know for personal experience that sometimes there are actually trainings, and these reach to focal points at countries that are really not much into the subject, and they just receive it and they just file the email and don't spread the word. And then countries don't apply to this because they never, the information doesn't get to the people that need to get, or that will be the best used to. That is also what is important, is to check focal points, So if these West Africa countries don't belong yet to a tsunami warning system, I'm sure they do belong to IOC Africa. So a first recommendation will be for the member states to check who is the focal point through IOC Africa and make sure that it's a person that is actually active on that role. And
okay,
not
I'm
just
sure
a
that the
bureaucrat
community, I have to stop you now because
sorry.
time
Yes,
is running. I'm
course.
sorry, Sylvia. And but I'm glad to see you exchange, because there is clearly a gap there. And working together, we will progress for sure. I take also a few seconds to share with you the fact that there is a service called the Copernicus Marine Service that we are actually operating, and in particular through the program called GMS in Africa, during which we are organizing many training, and actually Copernicus Marine Service is organizing many training related to ocean data, depending on applications. But so it is not the core, the focus here, but we will share the link with Copernicus Marine Service and the training program on the platform, because I'm sure that it would be it could be of benefit to all of you. I didn't listen to Esteban. Esteban, do you want to add something?
Yes, I would like
your
to
requirements.
answer this on behalf of Francesca, and as Molly and everyone has been mentioning regarding the trainings. We are also right now working as one of the examples on training for planners and architects. And this was made because we do see a huge need from all sectors, from educational, NGOs, government, private sectors, also the community, for them to participate, to have these kind of trainings. But once they get, let's say, this information or the data or all the tools, instruments, one of the big issues is that sometimes this material is not user-friendly. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to apply it. So one of the things that we're doing, as Sylvia was mentioning, capacitating the staff. We capacitate the staff. We teach them how to use them, how to apply all these instruments inside, let's say, their sector or their office, and also to the community. How can they transmit this? We have always said that there's an important link between us and the ocean. And throughout many of these years, we have lost it. So one of the things that we would like to do with the trainings is to reconnect people with the ocean, understand the connection, the both-way connection, the bridge that we have, and by using or by doing the trainings to all kinds of staff.
Good news. Very important information. Thank you. Olga, you wanted to add something? Or?
Yeah, maybe just to say that, of course, for us, we're working on the European scale, and as you were talking before, how it's important to focus things on local. For us, actually, it's both, but what OceanPrediction can offer us, or could be useful for us, is to work on the larger scale, because there are, I know, institutions, organizations who work on international level as well as European level. So for us, it would be super important and useful to have collaboration with those. So I know, of course, already, for example, we collaborate with you guys and with Eurogoose. We also use European Atlas of the Seas done by the IMODNet in the for the ocean literacy program in schools. So this is one thing I wanted to say. And the second thing is, when I hear you talking about a different type of data we need, we yet didn't talk about that very well. You started to mention it, actually, that we need data on this human-ocean interaction, and that brings me to the idea that we need maybe more of a data on the social economics, or the type of I don't know, blue skills or things that could be bringing more of a human part rather than strictly marine biology, for example. So that would be very important for us as we work a lot on across this. So I think these are my 2 cents, and I let you continue. And to say that all of our, even though we work on Europe, but of course all these examples are all the trainings and things for blue schools are open. You can find them on our website. Take a look, and of course we will be happy to support you.
Okay, thank you, Olga. And by the way, mentioning the fact that ocean data could also be enlarged to, let's say, human science or economics or whatever is a current idea that is currently used for, you know, the next digital twin ocean, in which we shall not only have ocean data as such, I mean modeling and temperature, physical data or biogeochemical data, but also much more, and that will enable us to make scenarios and yeah, well, okay, so it's another story. And what I appreciate with this dialogue is that there are many ideas, most of which so far are related to capacity building, train the trainer. So as you say, Anthony, it's to translate data into action. So to help people understanding what they are doing, what they are using data. And that is so far, I guess, the main ideas. Maybe we could jump into the second question, because there are 30 minutes left here now. The second question I would like to ask you, dear panelists, is related to OceanPrediction DCC, and what advantages would you see in building an ocean literacy community in OceanPrediction? Because so far you are the first member of this community being part of this roundtable. So would you see an advantage to have this community living in the OceanPrediction DCC?
I can go first.
Yeah.
The answer is definitely yes. At a micro scale, we've seen that happen sort of in our office at SPC, because for many years we had the modelers and we had sort of the technical folks, the surveyors. And then I joined the team about 10 years ago, and I have a social science background, and I was sort of really pushing a lot of my colleagues to think beyond what's the tool or what's the data that you're collecting, what's the next level, like how are we working to ensure that this is going towards some societal application, or that people understand the information that you're providing them, that it's being used. And we experienced some really good learning moments, some teachable moments, including an experience in Christmas Island where we had actually predicted successfully a really big event that ended up, there were 4 lives that were lost, unfortunately. And we shared that information with the Kiribati government, but unfortunately it wasn't really shared in a way that they felt that they could respond appropriately. And this was back in, I think, 2015 or 2016, or actually it was during the El Nino, so 2017. But this was a big wake-up call for us that, you know, we need to think more carefully about how we're communicating information, particularly disaster information, and how that's going, for example, to policymakers and to people who have the ears of communities, so that this kind of situation doesn't happen again. And I think we've responded really well to that. And so similarly, you know, this OceanPrediction community needs to not work in isolation, but to link to those who have those kind of skills, who have the touch, the common touch, and can help get the messages out there and to the right channels and to the right communities, to make better use of the really valuable information that's out there. But, you know, if it sits on a shelf and it's written in a white paper that no one's able to read or really comprehend, then it's actually not going to be helping us to reach the decade's, you know, ultimate goal, which is the ocean we want for people, and the ocean for societal development.
If I could understand you, Molly, you say that actually we couldn't stick only to the link ocean science and citizen, let's say, or society, but we should absolutely have the triangle: policy, science, and citizens, so to say. Huh? it was an idea also.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm correct.
Through the Pacific, yeah, and that's our goal in our Pacific program. So really linking those predictions to societal applications and ensuring that it's driven by needs, and then that policy is also incorporated. Absolutely, that's the triangle.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this community that we are going to build for you in ocean prediction?
If I can?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I will say that by creating an ocean literacy community, we are able also to extend the network to increase, for example, the data access, also at a regional as well as an international level in collaboration. Also, we will have a lot of more community support and obviously partnerships for projects, events, and even tools material. Also, by increasing this network, will create stronger and longer lasting relationships between countries, communities, ocean literacy practices, which can help us tackle the challenges that we're facing for the ocean. It is also very important to always try to work in a more interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary way in order to achieve the same goal or even the goals from different perspectives.
Yeah, I think we need to incorporate social sciences in all our efforts and as a permanent, because, for example, we have been given talks in many communities, and some communities with the same talk, some communities have started to work and they have gone through all to get the tsunami red recognition, for example, and the same talk in other community, non-effect, not a single effect at all, and people don't get interested and they don't work on the subject. So we need somebody that is constantly there to help us search for another approaches and other ways to get to the people as it is unfolding, not just the same recipe is going to work for everybody. So we need social scientists permanently linked to us and ocean sciences.
Okay, so it's close to a kind of cultural issue, actually, no? Or it's close to this need of social sciences in the scope of the ocean literacy and the ocean prediction activities.
Yeah, I would say that it's in the scope of an integrated, inclusive stakeholder approach, because we are trying whatever we are trying to do is for the community, is for the people. And so all of the data that's generated, if it doesn't go into actually solving some specific societal issues, then it's not useful. So that's where ocean prediction comes in. Try to bring together all these different technical stakeholders, get the data, and then the data then translated to action on the ground. And so basically for me, I consider this as a way for us to be one step ahead of whatever surprises nature might throw at us, such that if we have enough data, we can easily tell, for instance, in the case of disaster, what would happen. And also, we need to now be able to have a kind of a participatory community approach to dealing with the relationship between data, society, and science, such that we cannot just try to throw the results of studies at local people and expect them to understand. So like Sylvia mentioned, we need somebody there constantly within the community. So it's important that whatever activity is happening in terms of capacity development, in terms of ocean literacy, it has to be bottom up. So the community has to be actively engaged. And we have to therefore find very creative ways of translating information, translating complex data into ways in which people who do not have any science background can grasp and then use it for decision making. And one of those ways I mentioned in my talk was like use things like games, use things like storytelling. And that's where specific cultural things come into play, because different communities have different ways of transmitting data. So understanding how that is done, we can now bring in whatever agenda we have and use those methods, those traditional methods of transmitting information. And yeah, we develop a system for specific communities to link the data and the science to the local reality, whatever problem we're trying to solve on the ground.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. You even mentioned sports in your presentation, if I could remember, and I was wondering what sport, but anyway, it's another story. But I think it would be worth.
I can say something to that. We have, for instance, in Cameroon, where I come from, there's a local, every year there's a local event, a canoe race event. It's a cultural, very old cultural festival. There are lots of other activities, and one of the main activities is a canoe race. So we have traditional people, local communities from different villages who come together to compete to see who would be the first to cross a certain line with their local canoes. So these are some of the activities that we can now use as a platform to launch certain, bring in certain information to the people. So we can now, let's say if we have a plan to increase ocean literacy, then we target such activities and then bring it when such activities are taking place. And I think that would send the message home much better than other ordinary times.
Yes, it's a good idea, and that could bring a food for thought to many ocean literacy specialists. I have a question to all of you, because I saw that most of you could say that the community, the ocean literacy community, could also be a kind of guarantee that tools or tools for warning or for explaining or whatever, that there would be a kind of consistency in creating tools or in sharing new methods. You know, it's not a reason why the community should be built. Actually, what do you think about this idea of a community could ensure a consistency in developing new methods or new tools?
Can I go? Okay. Olga can go first, then I'll go later.
No, but I was just going to say that indeed it's very good, it's based on your previous question, that the ocean literacy debate goes into this ocean prediction community with all the things we already learned, all these different tools, I don't know, games, quizzes, all kind of amazing things we do, how we reach children, we reach young people, everything. And for me, it's important that this information gets shared, and we just need to see how to develop in the most effective way. And it's good that it will be international level. So we share all of this, not only with one community, but others, and we inspire each other. So that's one thing. And then, yes, I was thinking one more thing. But we need to really understand, I guess, for what is the societal need of all of this, with what we're discussing today, and then build this accordingly.
Okay.
And find the synergy in what already exists. We have this already in building our community, that so many things exist, so many materials, for example, for teachers, or so many different things. How do we find what fits my case? How do I find that this is the right element, this is the right way, or who should I contact? And in that sense, I think that if we find the way to already built on existing things, or find this very good interaction that could help a lot.
Okay. Before we jump into the Q&A session, because we have 20 minutes left now, I would like to listen to Anna Sophia. Maybe you wanted to add something regarding this second question about the ocean literacy community.
Well, I think I would like to support, that it's really about connecting people, but also building relationships on the long term. I think often we tend to work in these silos. Perhaps we don't, ensure the informal talk with neighboring departments or institutions, colleagues across the street or across the hallway. So I think establishing the ocean literacy community, gathering resource persons, experts across different sectors, fields to work towards these common goals is a really good idea. The whole sense of being part of a community signals working together towards this common goal. And in that, I think it's important, and you're perhaps already doing that, but to define and communicate clearly the purpose of this community, and the role that the community member should have. For example, why should you join the community? How will the individual member benefit from this? And how can the individual members feed in with knowledge and expertise in practice that feed into the goals of the community? So I think taking on this engaging approach, ensuring active engagement and ownerships among the community members is really important to, make it an active ocean literacy community.
Okay, thank you so much, Anna Sophie. Do any panelists would like to add another comment for this second question? Because we have to, otherwise we have to jump into the Q&A part of the session. It's okay? Okay, so let's go to the Q&A question. Maybe the questions could be displayed. Yes. So I don't know if we are seeing all questions now, if it's part of them, but okay, we will go step by step, and any question we are not able to answer to, they will be answered anyway on the platform. So let's go with the first one: how to get involved in the ocean literacy program and contribute in the education activity. So Andri doesn't say exactly to whom this question is meant for, but anyway, does anybody want to answer to this question? How to get involved in the ocean literacy program? Maybe it's for you, Esteban.
Yes, I would like to reply to that one. There's many ways to participate in ocean literacy programs. Can be from local projects, regional, national. Some of them, yes, it is true that there are also some in which they will need to apply. You don't need to have a scientific background for this kind of contributions. It's mostly like a passion that most ocean literacy programs are looking for. But I would like to ask, like, specifically, is there like any area on ocean literacy program? Because it can be educational, it can be for policymakers, it can be for even, like I was saying, architects, for designers. There's so many different tracks that you can follow for ocean literacy programs. As you know, here in the Office of Venice we have the IOC UNESCO office, and we are in charge of the ocean literacy projects for Italy and the Mediterranean. So if you have any project that you would like us to see and see the possibilities to collaborate, we'll be more than happy to do it. There's no specific, let's say, requirement. Depends on each kind of project. And we also we have also other projects that will allow you to find a sponsor or funds to continue with your project.
Thank you, Esteban. We have to go a bit faster.
Sure.
Just maybe all of you, if you are ready to, don't hesitate to answer to the question on the platform. So maybe just a word with links, with information. So the person asking the question, I'm sure that many others could ask the question, how to step in. You know, it's very concrete. The question is very concrete. So do not hesitate to put this information on the platform. So maybe we could have the second question, how to set up a common platform for exchange across the world, and how can countries in the South benefit from the experience and resources to develop their knowledge and awareness of the ocean? Wow, this is a strong question. Maybe Sylvia, it is running around the South.
It's worth also highlighting that the Ocean Best Practices is an established system. This is through IOC, UNESCO, IODE, and the Global Ocean Observing System, GOOS. And that best practices is quite broad. It includes things like how to set up, how to engage with communities around deployment of ocean observation equipment, and how to avoid, damage to your systems and these kind of things. So that, just to put that out there, that's there. It's www.oceanbestpractices.org. You can join the community. You can review some of the best practices that are out there, and they're always accepting sort of new best practices. There's a newsletter. So that's one option.
Yeah. Okay. Other options among
I would like to add to that very briefly. Yeah. Also, there's the ECOP program, Early Career Ocean Professional Program. And ECOP has several regional nodes across several continents. And so you just need to identify the regional node you belong to and join there are also national ECOP nodes. And you join, and then you can have access to information, because ECOP is one of the UN decade endorsed programs. And then we try to kind of connect with other UN endorsed programs. For example, the OceanPrediction program. So within ECOP, there are opportunities to have networking activities going on. And by so doing, you can get enough information, enough capacity, develop your capacity, and even maybe start implementing some of the ocean literacy programs in your own specific countries. So I think joining ECOP would be one of the ways to go about this.
Okay, and I add also that the very platform you are on today, and that the audience is attending the conference, is also a platform in which we have virtual booths, and it is a platform in which we will have many information. It is just starting as far as ocean literacy is concerned, but it will be also a platform dedicated to gathering data and promoting your works, all of you, and the next ocean literacy community. The Charles Meltzer is not a question. Charles is mentioning the integration of local psychology experts. It's not a question here. Here there is a question related to West Africa. Is there a way OceanPrediction can organize a training program where individuals from West Africa can benefit? I think that the question has been answered by Esteban in particular and I mentioned also the Copernicus Marine, but the training question is so important that this will be the case for an ad or for a specific document on the platform in the weeks to come. I like Anthony's idea to encourage individual citizens to take ownership or responsibility. Well, there is no question here, it's a comment. Thank you, Charles. Regarding digital Earth experience, is there any visualization like Google Earth with young people may simply explore pictures and data? Yeah, there is one called My Ocean Viewer in Copernicus Marine Service portal, but maybe you have other platform to promote here or to mention.
I think there are many.
Yes, there's a
Sorry,
lot. There's also Esri.
Yes.
Esri, the premier provider of satellite of remote sensing software, and on their platform they have an amazing array of tools which can be used for visualization and get quick results of some form of simple analysis. So I think it's worth checking.
Yeah, and also there are many files and layers developed for Google Earth from many organizations. I have seen, for example, in I don't remember the country, but they have a layer that shows you, if you click in the marker, you will see the picture of the tsunami evacuation sign they have in each place. And in the Caribbean region, there is something called Caribbean Marine Atlas that has also geographic information. That's maybe for people that are able to work on GIS, but there's some information there too.
Okay, I take the opportunity of mentioning that the technical coordinator of OceanPrediction kindly put a comment here on the question board, explaining that every ideas will be, of course, considered. The ideas you mentioned will be taken into account, but it could be also mentioned in the idea. What is the idea labs that is on the platform, and it's a moment to promote this idea labs facilities on the OceanPrediction platform. I have also a question for you, and because we spoke with, as far as Arctic is concerned, about the involvement of the population, and it's sometimes good to have a look back and to see how far we've come. How would you rate the progress made in the last 20 years in ocean literacy? What would be the best indicator, in your opinion, to measure the progress that has been made and that could be made further as far as ocean literacy is concerned? Important to measure. What would be an indicator according to you? And we have only 7 minutes to do so.
If I may go, I think that's a tough question because development of indicators, especially for scientific topics, can be quite challenging. But I think we can go into looking at the number of, let's say, training programs that have been provided, the number of ocean literacy experts that have, how the number has changed, increased over time. And we can also think of schools where the number of curriculums that have developed, blue curriculums that have developed over time. I think these are some of the indicators we can go into. There's a lot that can be developed, but whether these indicators can actually translate into something positive for the environment and for the community is something that needs to be further. We can find ways to evaluate that. But yeah, so we can start with such basic indicators.
Yeah, because we have to be sure to involve the maximum person possible. So it's important also to have the question: how do we ensure that the activities are a success and that we are meeting the target actually? What do you think, Molly, about?
Yes. So on that topic, it's great to try to integrate your qualitative indicators alongside the more quantitative, number of trainings given or number of individuals trained, is to try to hone in on some of those success stories or individual sort of progress stories. So often capacity, when we're talking about capacity building, it's quite broad, but it's about people, it's about individuals and building people. So identifying some of those stories is actually quite powerful. Even alumni groups, ECOP networks formed. In our organization, we sometimes will even measure MOUs, new MOUs, because that represents sort of a formalization of two organizations, recognizing that. So for example, Fiji having an MOU with the Marine Safety Authority. That's actually quite a big step, and it represents a lot of years of work.
Mm-hmm. Sylvia, in your case, maybe you know how the progress, you can measure somehow your progress now?
Yes, of course, we can count how many communities have tsunami evacuation maps and how many have plans and how many participated on tsunami exercises. But that is, it might be a tricky number, you know. I'm sorry, relying on numbers might be tricky because you can say, okay, I have 50 something, 60 something communities having tsunami evacuation maps, but we know a number of those only have the maps, and not even only a few people in the community know about the maps. We know it's not widespread. We know people just didn't attend the training, and so it's not so easy to measure about. I mean, of course, numbers give you an idea, but they should be taken with caution.
Right. Of course. Olga?
I can also add to this a bit because, of course, there are, like you say, we have number of quantitative indicators for how many schools became blue schools, how many trainings we did, how many projects we carried out. But indeed, the big question is whether the information and all these activities we carried out, did it change people's ability to take different decisions? So in our blue schools, we're trying now with this project in the Mediterranean to come up with the framework of how we measure this. So did something change after the kids carried out this blue school project? What changed? Did they start looking at things differently? And the same for others. There's a way to evaluate this, and we did it in the other project that we coordinated, the Responsible project. It was a Horizon 2020 project a few years ago, where we actually, with the scientists, trying to come up with the approach. How do we measure it? Does it make sense? Did we reach anything? Do people become more aware? How do we know that it worked? So there's interest in social and behavioral research on that down. So I think it would be very useful for trying to use it in this context for all of us.
And we're often.
Cecile?
Yeah.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
I think we can, in addition to all of this, we can also look at, for instance, how many students at the secondary school level continue to become environmental activists, conservationists at the university or later on in their lives. I think that's where we can now see the impact of the capacity or the literacy programs at a certain level, let's say when they were much younger, and follow up until probably later on. But that's more of a long-term thing. So immediately we cannot really say for sure that there was an impact in most cases. So it has to be a long-term thing, and then we can develop more meaningful indicators to assess the impact of literacy programs.
I was also wondering how far we consider that training policymakers is part of the ocean literacy program, because we are oftenly speaking about students or the youth, citizens, but maybe training also policymakers could be also part of it. I'm sure that, I don't know, Anna Sofia, is it something that you are considering as well? Oh, no? Train the policymakers?
Yeah, I think the point about, ensuring or better informed decision making is really good. And I think it doesn't have to be that complicated. You can, do thematized dialogue meetings with, political groups or government entities to ensure that there's a proper knowledge flow with new knowledge, data, and results feeding into the decision-making level. I think that's really important.
Lydia, no, you wanted to add something?
I think we definitely have to train the
you are doing it,
decision
for sure.
makers. We have to, I'm not sure how easy it's going to be, but this is something it's one of the many things we have to do.
Yeah.
One of the many sectors we have to cover. Yeah.
Final words to Esteban about it?
I would like Francesca to reply to that question, as she did a training for policymakers, if I'm not mistaken, last year. But I would really appreciate if she was here to answer with her experience, with her words, how was this training, the after, the during, and before, let's say. But she one of the things that I know that she wants to keep on doing it is to have a follow-up during the following years. It's not something that you just do a training and you forget about them. You need to follow up with them. You need to also innovate with the material and keep on doing it. If you do version 1, then offer of version 2. Then you can keep on hiring the level so they can be more prepared for any kind of situation.
Okay, thank you, Esteban. Thank you for being so short, because we have to close the session now, and we've heard today that finally there is definitively a close link between ocean prediction and ocean literacy. I think that you all brilliantly demonstrated it, and this link between ocean prediction and the society could be set up thanks to you guys, thanks to your expertise as far as capacity building, training, ocean literacy is concerned. I'm sure of that. So there are many examples mentioned during the session. I do not have time to mention it all. Maybe I should write a short summary of what has been told. Anyway, it will be needed by Enrique for following up the action as far as ocean literacy is concerned, and I will make it circulated among you guys for being sure that all your ideas are well mentioned or written in the document. So thank you so much for being for having joined this session today. And I hope, I look forward to meeting you soon and to progress together as far as ocean literacy is concerned. Thank you again to the organizer. I joined the all Ocean Prediction team to thank you all for this session. All the best to you all, and Molly, maybe you have to go to sleep now. Okay.
Yes, one day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being there so early for most of you, and hoping to meet you soon in the Ocean Prediction network.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.